This is Hannibal here with a daily wrestling news update. WWE had their largest arena show gate with a crowd of just over 11,000 yesterday in Lyon, France, which seems to be a lovely town. I'm jealous that I didn't get to wrestle there. But ticket prices, I guess, taking into account the ones that were comped, Dave Meltzer reported $300 was the average ticket price. And he also noted something interesting that Triple H said in the post Backlash press conference that they're going to keep coming to the cities that are the loudest. But apparently, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to international pay-per-views, it's whoever pays them the most. Apparently, they received a large fee to come to Lyon, France, because obviously, I mean, they made a huge amount of money on the gate here, but they're getting paid by the government to come to these places. I guess that's why he keeps asking the London mayor to talk to him about WrestleMania because they're getting huge deals to go to these places, just like WrestleMania. Apparently, they're getting a special deal to come to Las Vegas because it's Easter weekend, and that's traditionally a bad tourism weekend for Las Vegas. So, whatever deal they're giving them to come Easter weekend to make sure there's a whole bunch of people in Las Vegas that weekend. Another note from this press conference, which went over my head when I watched it yesterday, but I guess Triple H took a shot at PW Insider and Fightful when someone asked them about Drew Gulak's firing, or whatever you want to call it, release contract non-renewal. When someone asked if it had anything to do with Ronda Rousey, her accusation against him, Triple H said they should cite more credible sources than PW Insider and Fightful. Which again, I'm neutral towards those sources. I mean, they do good and bad information. Got nothing against them. But let's face the facts here. Drew Gulak was taken off TV as soon as those accusations from Ronda Rousey came out. Uh, so, I mean, whether they were going to renew the contract or not, I'm sure that had something to do with him having like one more TV appearance than being done when he had been featured regularly on NXT. Supposedly, because he had been on the main roster at some point, he was making much more money than NXT guys. And the cap for NXT salaries is 250 a year. So he would have been making over 250 grand a year, at least over that, for being a guy that's not over. So it was a good cut considering the accusations or not, but I'm sure it was no coincidence. You can say what you want. It was no coincidence that he was removed from TV shortly after those accusations. As far as Gable Steveson being released from WWE. He was making massive amounts of money apparently, and I heard Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio compare it to like Cain Velasquez. They signed Cain because they wanted to get Brock Lesnar's win back since Cain killed him in UFC, and Saudi Arabia apparently wanted him for that pay-per-view where he lost to Lesnar, but he didn't have it, so they didn't keep him around. And supposedly he had a huge contract. I heard like 7 million a year. He only lasted a matter of months, but he did what he was supposed to do, and they released him. And of course, like why that's being compared to Gable Stevenson is like Cain Velasquez, he just was not marketable because the charisma was not there. It's a good thing in the end they released Cain Velasquez with everything that happened with him, um, which is just a terrible situation. Will AEW take him? I mean, they did take Parker Boudreaux for a while there. Remember Parker Boudreaux, who everyone was saying was going to be the next Brock Lesnar and completely bombed in WWE. Then I heard that AEW signed him for 180,000 a year. I heard that from a credible source. When the minimum pay is 150,000 a year in AEW from what I hear. So they signed a guy that WWE didn't want anymore and wasn't over for 30 grand more than the minimum, and then they used him like a handful. Who can remember something Parker Boudreaux did in AEW? And supposedly the last year he was under contract, I don't even know if they used him once. So will AEW, who's known for wasting money, take a shot at Gable Stevenson? I would say it's definitely possible. It's definitely I 100% believe that WWE is not like released him after the Olympic trials just happened just so he couldn't do the Olympic trials. That's no coincidence. They didn't want him doing the Olympic trials and then signing with AEW if he wins the Olympics. They 100% didn't want that. This is this is no coincidence that, oh, he probably could have won another Olympic gold medal. Let's release him a couple weeks after the Olympic trials. To me, you can tell me your opinion in the comments. That's typical WWE business, which I'm not saying that's wrong. That's smart business on their part. It's protecting themselves. As far as UFC 301, apparently it's one of the weakest pay-per-views they've ever had. Will likely be a very low buy rate. Jose Aldo beating Jonathan Martinez by decision apparently was the only relevant thing of the pay-per-view. There was 13 fights, and a lot of them were decisions. Apparently, wasn't very good. Also, one last thing as far as the WWE's what they're going to file as a statement related to this Janelle Grant trial. I think they got to make it by May 15th. We saw that Johnny Ace is now cooperating with Vince McMahon, although at one point it looked like he was going to try and take Grant's side if Grant was going to take him off of the lawsuit, which she did not end up doing. But WWE is probably going to take it more neutral. WWE could settle the whole lawsuit. They could if they wanted to. If it gets settled, WWE if they just don't want it to go to court because her case is looking a lot weaker than it was, and now with Johnny Ace, who was allegedly in a three-way with her and Vince, if he's now taking Vince's side, like who does she have really to back her up, and what evidence does she have um, to back up? I guess time will tell. One thing about all these alleged Vince McMahon freeways, remember when Xavier Woods, Paige, and someone else had a three-way that got on tape and there was a NXT title in the shot, and then none of them got fired over that. Now we probably know why none of them got fired. Vince probably loved that. Paige, who's one of these lost AEW wrestlers that they've done nothing with. I remember Sid saying, "I wonder what Vince McMahon had on Paige." Sid said that because they kept her around for so many years after there was a sex tape of her having sex in a dressing room too that came out and all this stuff, and they still kept her around. And Sid always said, "I wonder what they have on her." Thinking of all these allegations that have come out recently against Vince, I wonder if she did have something on Vince, just because they kept her around so long and didn't use her. I thought she was talented, to be honest, and whatever. Everyone makes mistakes. She had several videos come out, which I don't even know how. I guess someone hacked her phone or something. But I think AEW is ridiculous for not using her. She's done nothing in AEW. Someone says, is it true that WCW wrestlers got paid on their contracts even if they got after they got fired? I don't think so, no. When WCW went out of business, the people that didn't take buyouts still got paid, and some of them had clauses where you get paid for 3 months if you were fired. I think Hulk Hogan, um, he had a clause from what I understand. He was still paid after that incident, after they stopped using him, but no. I've never heard there might be a there might be like a 3-month thing where you get paid a severance, but I've never heard of any contracts where you get paid even if you're fired. I know Vince McMahon had a clause in his TKO contract where he couldn't be fired, he had to resign. Wordo Mania running wild. Yeah, he was a massive flop. Doing great today. Heading Luke has head into the gym in a few minutes. Thanks for watching. And by the way, whoever it's 10:21 on a Sunday morning. Everyone's at church or, uh, or still sleeping. But thanks for watching. Appreciate it, pal. Have a great day. God bless all of you, even the hater that's still watching me. Appreciate it, dude.